Stop that.
Everyone to Toku Portal Podcast. It's me, Zero, here with.
Uh, Henshin, we're not getting any volume from you. I'm Rai.
Better?
Not really,
Can you
no.
hear me?
Sort of.
My voice, the voice is in the green. Should I try closing out and coming back?
No, you sound fine right now. Anyways, welcome to Kamen Rider Build, episode 38. So, Sento has woken up as Katsuragi Takumi, Evolt has returned to his true form, and Banjo has a weird vision from Mars. Go!
First, weird vision from Mars. So I'm wondering if this is something related to part of Evolt Banjo when he was a baby, that he's remembering part of Evolt's memories, but we don't really see that much apart from a brief glimpse of Evolt, so it could be anything. For Katsuragi, I was very excited to see this episode because we actually get to in person who Katsuragi is.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because Katsuragi's around. I I tried to watch this episode like pretty fast, so I'm missing like some stuff. Like Vision, whatever. I don't know. I don't think I saw it. I don't really think it fucking matters. I mean, maybe it might. I don't think it fucking
It felt
like
like
the only interesting
foreshadowing.
thing in this. Maybe who cares? Um, like the only interesting thing is totally lost my train of thought. Like the whole like Katsuragi, like why he built the rider system stuff was kind of interesting, but other than that, like I like most of the episode. Like I mean, especially once the fight starts, I'm like, yeah, whatever. Like this is barely loading. I'm skipping to the end, so I might not be
Oh.
able to comment that much. I'm just putting that out there right now. Um,
Oh no.
yeah, Katsuragi is interesting. I guess go.
This is horrible. The
And you did Sento's catchphrase. Eh,
um
we'll make it work somehow.
well, I think that like Banjo's weird Mars vision is definitely foreshadowing for some other aspect of Banjo that has yet to be revealed, because one of the visions was from Evolt's point of view, so that's that memory side, but then one of them was looking at Evolt, so where was that from? I don't think that had to have been, that couldn't have been like after like the genes were separated for the rover, because Evil didn't have his final form at that point. So there's definitely something weird going on there. All right. So Banjo, Kazumi, and Toku try teaming up again, but they are no match for Evolt, so they retreat. And then Evolt inserts some weird bottles into a panel on the box, and they turn golden. And if you've seen the toy scans, you know what these are already. But they're basically foreshadowing for something later. Possibly, like, even
And
a later movie.
I'm pretty sure these come up later in the summer movie based on so far.
Yeah, probably. They're definitely just, like, set up for something. Uh, Evolt approaches Namba and declares himself the leader of the country. Namba can still be prime minister, but as Evolt's puppet. Why did this take so long? Is my question. Like, why was
Yeah,
Evolt
my
just...
guess was that phase 4 Evolt could easily like be in charge of Nanba because he can probably in phase one he can just wipe the floor with any hard smash plus the two remaining Gear brothers. So why did he wait?
Yeah, like I guess he wanted to like toy with Namba some more for some reason, but I don't get what his motivation here was.
I mean, at this point, this kind of ties into the whole, oh, there's another panel with more fucking bottle. I'm so sick of these damn bottles. At this point, like at first it's like, oh, it's cute, like everything ties together, and now it's like this is the fucking laziest gimmick I have ever seen. With like, oh, well, rings that only got used once, or like, like the Forze shit was pretty bad, but and like the ghost icons, but like at least Coast having icons having such a high number doesn't matter because like, there's a lot of fucking people throughout history. As for these bottles, they're like, it's the whole shit. Like, it's this whole shit show with like Namba Industries and like and Pandora's Box. It's like you think it means something, but all it means is like, yeah, we're just keeping these around because we can. And why this should happen because of plot reasons. Like, it's not even good reasons. It's just like, yeah, whatever. I'll fucking use this bullshit excuse because I can. Even though I've used it like 3 times in a row. Like, fuck off. I'm so done. Like, all this shit. We thought Namba might have fucking like, it might have come back around and become decent. Like, all this time we fucking wasted with Namba's bullshit for nothing. Like Evolt, why was he toying with him? Oh, he says he likes him, but like it fucking doesn't mean anything. It's just the same shit of like, oh well, the plot says you die now. That's why I do it. Oh, how many panels does this damn 6-sided box have? Apparently a million. Like who gives a fuck? I'm so like done with like this bullshit storytelling. Like I am not feeling it. And
Wow.
like the worst part is like it could have been okay. Like I'm not like done with the show or anything. It's just like, man, this was the shittiest payoff. um and then like Utsumi at the end where it's like, oh, I'm like, oh, now you're gonna become like a real shows had with Utsumi. It's like his actor is just not good enough. So like if they played it with like, oh no, he's lost everything and then he's gonna fight on anyway for like vengeance or whatever, or like, because like he's got nothing to lose. Like it would have been this sad moment, but at least he would have had the writer thing, or like just a writer who just fucking snaps. But like maybe the first one Utsumi's actor could play, but the second one that they went for, like I can see what Evolt was saying is like, oh, humans are interesting. I'm like, yeah, that would have been an interesting take, but like Utsumi's actor can't fucking pull it off. So I was like, that was another disappointment. And then
Enzo doesn't know
like,
these guys. He might not even know their names.
I don't even know their names.
yeah, I think
Me
this is the
neither.
I think the first guy who died, this is the first time we've heard his name. And I'm
Uh,
like, oh, that's your name. I'm like, it sure will count for nothing because the other guy is pretty much throwing up every goddamn death flag imaginable.
uh, we should be back up now. Why
Yeah,
do I
give it
have
a.
so many drop frames? Holy shit. Okay, let me close out of that and see if that helps. Yeah, okay.
Ah, there we go. Oh no,
We should be live.
there we go. Yeah, it's working again.
Okay.
Um,
Okay, so you're in the middle of a tangent, or do you want to take a breather?
I'll stop on it because we have a comment.
Oh, what's our comment?
Springtime Bunny says the lost bottle was Cobra, Propeller Fan, and Zebra.
Yeah, that's fantastic. No one cares about those bottles. Sorry to say.
I mean,
Honestly, that's the problem with most writer shows. At least Heisei Rider shows is that even if they say there's a specific number of items, like 15 icons or 60 full bottles, they're gonna go over. They're gonna make an
They
excuse to go over so they can sell
It's
more.
they never
standard. Okay.
said there were 60 full bottles. They just said they needed 60.
Yeah, I mean, it's not
They
like
said
spring. Okay, okay.
60 were needed to open Pandora's box.
Yeah, like springtime Bonnie, we're not saying like don't comment or whatever. It's just like we're just discussing a bad trend that Ryder has going
Yeah.
lately. It's not an attack on you or anything.
Yeah, yeah. Like,
As
sorry if I
there you go.
offended you saying that. We do like to hear user comments. It's just that like
Yeah.
those bottles really don't matter at all.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh,
as for like the icons, like the 15 kind of makes sense because they're like Dragon Balls, where it's like you collect 15, then you can get one wish. So like it doesn't matter which 15, you just have to get 15. Um, because like there are different ones, like different characters get their own 15, and that's actually a plot in the movie. But as for the bottles, like the full bottles are the worst because like oh you're like well they're useful like in O's they stay all the way till the end unlike X8 where they kind of like the bugsters kind of drop off like halfway through the show for the most part except like the important ones. um but the problem is like Banda is greedy as fuck, so they like keep making more and build like this is the worst part about Build is like it's it's well written. Okay, at some points it's well written in hindsight at this point because it's like it's your fucking end game and Evolve is your end game, so we can't just be like oh well they didn't know who was gonna no he has four forms, all right, there is no bullshitting around like Evolve is your end game at that point. Like if he had one form we could have said oh he became popular like Ankh and therefore we had to switch the final bad guy to Evolve or Stark, I guess. But like when you give the fucker four forms, like that question goes out the window, you know? Like everything is tied to him, and it's like this is the best you could do for build up, and it's like what the fuck are you doing? Like it's not a terrible show, it's just like so not giving 1 ounce of a fuck about what happens that it's like yeah whatever, I'm getting to the end game, shelled out all the toys, I don't have to care. Like it's the problem that like early Heisei Rider used to have where it's like oh shit it's like 5 episodes to go, yeah do whatever, we have no budget left because all the budget for the show is blown and all the budget that was remaining got pulled for the next show, you know. So like figure out some way to wrap it up. It doesn't matter anymore because we've sold all the toys. Except like we have more shit to sell. It's like what the fuck, man? Like why show? It doesn't need to be this shit. Like that's what I was saying. The whole Utami thing. It's like okay, I thought they were gonna do something smart where it's like they'll do the Amazon thing. It's like okay, Namba's gonna piss off. He'll go hide in the background for a bit, and then he'll become the final arc villain. I'm like, all right, and then Utami is just gonna work with Gentoku and like double cross Evolve, you know? Like he's either gonna become the rider or he's gonna get the belt and give it to Gentoku, and they'll just take out Evolve, and then like Namba Industries will be the final villains. I'm like, all right, that would have been a good switch around, but the way they did it, and it's like it's not terrible because like Utami just snapped because like his rider is Mad Rogue or whatever.
So,
But the actor just could not pull that moment off, man.
uh,
And it's not even Dan where it's like, oh, just be as fucking over the top as possible. No, no, like there was a specific moment where you should have gone from character A to character B, and he could not bridge that gap. And it's like, well, I couldn't care less about you because you just seem like a 2 episode villain now. Because at least if it went against Toku, it would have been something. You know, and if at least if Namba Industries stayed around, I would be like, oh, Utsumi has a chance to outlive Evolve. But like at this point, like he's got no chance.
okay, I'm gonna give you a breather.
Yeah,
Uh,
I'm pretty much done.
okay,
Go
so
ahead.
I agree. Namba was a lot of build up to nothing. Just killing him off now, it feels like he could have been killed off at any point in the last 20 episodes and nothing would have been different for it. Honestly, Evil could have just taken over his position from the get go and everything would have played out the same.
If
Uh,
he wanted, Evil could have disguised himself as Nanba.
that's
Killed him
pretty much
as
what I'm saying. Like, he never needed Namba. And the fact that
no.
Namba doesn't amount to anything as a character before getting killed off after everything that he's done in the show, which is very little, by the way, is pretty disappointing. Even the Nama children like storyline has gone nowhere. Utsumi didn't need to be like a hypnotized child to just be a loyal follower. The Gear Bros don't matter. Sawa doesn't matter.
No.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking Henshin wants to say is like we could have had like the Namba children still be a plot point if Evolve took over like Namba's body or looked like him. But at this point, like they don't fucking matter, so they really didn't make any difference. I don't know, man.
Now, as for the Gear Bros deaths, like as soon as the first one died, I was like, okay, now the next one is going to die right away. Uh, I get why they were trying to go for like a sympathetic death, but these characters are just kind of side characters that show up and then disappear for episodes at a time and then show up again. So I don't really feel anything for them. In fact, I'm kind of even more upset that one of them saved Banjo from getting hit with that finisher attack when he died. Because it's everything about it is undeserved. It's not some kind of like redemption for his character.
You know what the saddest part is? That's just fucking graphite all over again. Just doing that graphite moment.
Graphite
Like
was
I'll
good
take.
though.
I know. That's the
They at least
difference.
brought Graphite back, like, after his death, and he was around for 10, 12 episodes before he permanently died, I think, so at least we got to see his character more.
The problem is that the Gear Bros had no character development and then they tried to make us feel for them.
Yeah, exactly. This is like it's the saddest part because like they're really good actors and sometimes the damn writing is so on point or at least some arcs. But like this I didn't want this to happen to Build, but it fucking did. It's one of those cases where it's like you watch a show and like yeah, you can learn from the good shit, but like and maybe you can learn from like the absolute train wreck, but like you watch the shows that are like hit or miss and like I didn't want Build to become one of those, but like the thing is like if you're making your own tokusatsu, watch this to show you what not to do. You know? Like I didn't want it to become one of those examples because it looked like oh okay the first arc was rushed because we had to get all the bottles out, but then they got their shit together, and like the last like 5 episodes were decent, and this was supposed to be this big payoff, and it's not terrible, but it's like the whole everything with Namba, all the characters like don't matter. Like I could not give one fuck about any of them at this point. And like the whole like Namba groveling at the end, you it could have been another like great like Kamen Rider Tiger moment or something like that. You know, where it's like reality catches up with them or some shit like that, but
Yeah, I get what you're
it
saying.
doesn't. Yeah, it didn't do anything. It's like I think
I
that's kind of the worst part is like the more Rider stuff you watch, the more annoying it gets because it's like I've seen this exact plot line done better in a different show. You know? Yeah, go ahead.
so let's talk about a few of the good parts of this episode because there were some.
Yes.
So in the cafe when everyone else is kind of mourning the loss of Sento because it seems like his Katsuragi doesn't have Sento's memories anymore, and so he may never get those back. He may never remember the experiences they had together. And that was a touching moment because they're all genuinely sad about this. To them, it's like Sento is dead and now there's someone else here trying to fill in for him.
Looks exactly like him, which makes it worse.
And behaves like him in some ways. Katsuragi has a lot of early episode Sento habits.
He does. Like, he even has the hair thing when he's working on an invention.
It's been a long time
Kind
since
of
we've seen
stuck-up
Sento do
attitude.
that, too.
And since like this was a pretty heavy episode, but like the one part that made me laugh is like Augie looking at his face and going, "Ah, what law of physics is this?" That was pretty funny.
And then there was when Gentoku relays Utsumi's message about working with him to take out Evil. That's where Kazumi draws the line. He can't forgive Gentoku for killing his comrades, but he was able to accept working with him. But when it comes to the people that ordered that hit in the first place, the people that gave those commands, he can't even bring himself to work with them. And I respect him for having that kind of line. He's still a person after all. He can't get over all of his grief. He can't get past all of that. And so that's why he
Yeah,
wasn't in like the big fight at the end of the episode.
Yeah, and it's interesting that Katsuragi can't really handle the improved build system anymore.
So when it comes to fighting, throwing a punch, when you get used to it, is muscle memory. It's like learning how to play a guitar. So if you get amnesia and you forget that you learned how to play a guitar, you only forgot that you learned how to play. You'd still, like, muscle memory be able to play it. So
Yeah.
Katsuragi still should know how to throw a punch, but it makes sense that like he's no longer used to the system in front of him. His mind can't keep up with it.
Okay, that's all very interesting stuff. I mean, like, yeah, it's really good character moments. Like early on, like anything outside of the Namba shit was pretty solid this episode. I will have to say that, especially like how Katsuragi and Rogue have like their talk, and it's like them just like catching up of what they've done. Like, yeah, I should have seen, like, I should have, understood what you were talking about, but then like you still led up to all this shit, and like very interesting character moments. Yeah, that's all good stuff. Springtime Bonnie says Starscream or Mad Rogue did save the planet from Evolt. Was that in the flashbacks, or is that in
So
this
Yeah.
episode?
when
Oh.
Utsumi like breaks and decides to just throw everything he stood for aside and swear loyalty to Evolt, Evolt like that seals the deal for Evolt. He enjoys fucking with humans too much to get rid of them, so he gives up blowing up the planet to keep messing around with it.
Yeah. Although
That
if
is,
situations change, I'm pretty sure Evolt would be okay later with like blowing up the planet if he feels humanity isn't interesting anymore.
His finger is literally on the button.
yeah. I'm pretty much like, that's interesting, but that's such like a guy cop out bullshit of like, oh, why are we doing this? Because you're interesting, or research, or oh, what? We have 10 episodes to go. We can't just blow up the planet. Let's just put filler in until like Evolve decides to blow the planet up at the end, which of course he will, because that's apparently what Tokusatsu villains do now. Um,
Yeah, if it wasn't for this,
yeah,
we'd be on the last 2 or 3 episodes.
Yeah, I mean,
And
hopefully,
Masamune just wanted to take over the world, not blow it up.
fit. Yeah, fair point. Fair point. Okay, to be fair, he wanted to like digitize everyone like an asshole and then control everybody's lives. I'm pretty sure that's pretty horrible too.
One way or
I'm
another,
Um,
he
not
would have
saying
brought
it's
about the end of the
bad.
world.
yeah. I mean, yeah, fair enough. Like he was not world ending. I mean, it's very like Sentai, right? Like, oh no, what's gonna happen? Like the final thing. Like, fuck this. This planet, not Kyuranger. Zyuohger's thing.
I'm remembering now the last episode of Zyuohger and Yamato's terrible final form.
God.
Oh
So
my
I
god,
saw,
yeah.
I've seen the first episode of Zyuohger and the last episode, and fuck that form.
It's hilarious. I know, like the
It
ape
is
suit and the wings.
so
So
bad.
dumb.
It's
Um,
terrible.
I mean, like the only cool part is like they just like pull down the spaceship. Actually, no, that's not true. Yeah, the final episode is not great, but like the second last episode's pretty solid because like I think they like just pull down the spaceship by this like cord. That was pretty cool. I mean, fucking dangerous, but that was cool. Um, and then like when they're fighting, like the Zyuohger members, like the people not from normal Earth, like get out of the mech because they're like part animal, like stuff, and they're just basically fucking like running across the buildings to attack. That was such a badass moment too. Like
Wow.
during the fight.
I wish
Yeah,
I
it
had
was so
watched
cool.
that episode, because the last one is
Yeah.
boring compared to what that is.
My god, the last one is fucking boring. I mean, it's not terrible, but like the second last or like
Um,
the third last
it
episode's
is
good.
not it is not a very good final battle at all.
Would
Yeah.
recommend Zyuohger, but I'm biased because it was the first Sentai I'd ever seen while it was airing all the way through.
Zyuohger is pretty good. Like it's got the one problem of like the red is the leader, therefore he gets the most screen time. Like it's not that the other guys don't, but it's like everybody else's relationship is built up to their having their relationship. It's like you have a team, but it's not the team's dynamic. It's
They
like everybody on the team's dynamic to the red and his story.
they
So
get
I mean, it's
more.
not that. Yeah, go
So
ahead.
do they get more character development than the non-reds in Ninja?
I have no idea about
Probably,
Ninja,
but I haven't watched Ninja. I have heard
I
stuff about
I've
it.
heard that Ninja is the epitome of Red and his amazing friends.
uh, I don't think it's that bad. Like they get like at least one episode sort of to like reveal a little about themselves and stuff, but like nothing major beyond that. It's not um like oh, this whole team thing is going like it's not Tokuger, where it's like every member crosses and has a story with every other member pretty much. It's not that. It's
Hmm.
like they all have their own single episodes, then they all have like the team episodes, and then they all have like oh, we have a storyline with the red episode type of thing. Or like it could be like Stella and Leo kind of have a like rivalry going that gets play every once in a while. So that's like blue and yellow kind of have been like rivals since they were kids. So that gets into a couple episodes that shows up, but most of it it's like yeah, it's like 50% red story, like you know, and then like everything else gets the other 50%. So it's not as terrible, but yeah, it's like a weird mix. It's not as like team centric as most Sentai, but it's not terrible.
You know what is really good though? Lupin Ranger
What?
versus Pat Ranger. Seriously,
It is.
the last episode of that show features Lupin Yellow interacting with Padre and Ichigo, or Red Cop. And it is an odd combination, and it was really good.
We should probably get back on topic.
Oh, fine. um,
Sure. I guess
yeah,
we can get off topic in a bit.
we've almost talked about everything. I want to. Zero gave his thoughts on Utsumi's henshin, but now it's my turn. So, Utsumi snapping is a weird turn for his character. It all kind of doesn't make sense because why did he? Is he? There's a few directions here. So one, is he just so mad about Namba's death that he's just blindly accepting this for some plan that he hasn't even figured out yet? Is he just so in the mindset of he has to serve some kind of master that he just accepted the greatest master before him when the last one was gone? Or was he just so caught up in the brainwashing and with Namba's death that it's gone now and this is just the kind of asshole he is, or he's now has like a lost identity? The problem is that we don't know Tsumi's character well enough to distinguish what his real motivation for agreeing to follow evil now is. Like all we knew about him was he was blindly loyal to Namba, and now Namba's gone. And what's it? Why does he want to follow evil now? I'm going
Yeah.
with he's just so locked into blindly following some sort of master. That's the
See,
one I'm going with.
it's either that or like you bring up a really good point. Like we don't know what the fuck Utsumi's deal is to actually tell, but all the other options you listed are really interesting, and that would have been a nice sub story. But that's not gonna happen. Um, I mean, it could, but I doubt it. Uh, my thoughts on what I think they were going for, it's like, fuck it. Everything's gone, and like, it's either I stand with the humans and die, just like I stood with Namba Industries, or I go with the guy who's gonna kill the planet and save my own ass.
Oh wow,
And so he
I
decided.
don't know how I didn't think of that one.
I know there's so many options.
Probably the if it's not the blind loyalties have to serve a master thing, it is that.
Yeah, those seem like
Gonna
a
be on the
solid
winning
two
side
options.
thing.
Although the whole like his mind was destroyed from the hypnosis thing would have been a really good story if they gave him more character development.
Yeah, like we don't see him for a while after he gets shot by Gentoku and falls off the bridge. Then they're like, "Oh, Stark found him and brainwashed him more, maybe."
Did he even brainwash him more?
No, it's just that whole part before Gentoku shot him when he seemed to be regretting his actions and trying to warn Sento about something. That was interesting, and then that's gone. I'm like,
I always felt like Utsumi became an entirely different character out of nowhere when he returned. The problem is that like they didn't go back to that at all. So my only guess is that it's kind of like with Sawa, where like, okay, the whole Namba children thing just kicked in now, and that's why his personality changed.
Yeah, see, I keep thinking like Utami is one of their kids. Like, is he one of their kids or is he just hypnotized?
Wait,
From
uh, could he not
is he
be?
one of?
I always assumed he was one of the Namba children.
Yeah, I think he is. But like, if it was just hypnotized, it would have been like Kamen Rider the first sort of situation where it's like, oh, why is Utami loyal to Namba Industries? Like they're the only people keeping him alive, you know? Like you could have had something like his body's falling apart, and that's why he doesn't henshin because like he became Nitroke, so he was capable of doing it.
Let
So
me
that would have been an interesting thing, and like you guys said, like him just losing his fucking mind as time went on, that would have been a good side story. But I guess now we're just writing better shows than the actual show. Springtime Bonnie
he
says they really like Evolt's black hole form or transformation. What did you guys
transformation
think
it
is
of
was
that?
a
really good.
glorious henshin sequence.
Yeah, disappear then boom, right back.
Yes, okay, so according to the Wiki site, Utsumi is in fact one of the Namba children.
Makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. It would have been more interesting if he wasn't, but whatever. Yeah, I guess we talked about the black hole form, which is cool. I guess transformation. Uh, what about Utsumi's new form?
I don't like it.
Transformation is better than the actual form. The form is alright.
The form is reminiscent of the early series Bloodstark and Night Rogue forms, so I get what they were going for with it. The whole package, though, doesn't work for me.
Yeah,
Maybe if it was more of just like a monster character itself instead of a rider suit, I would be more into it. But as a rider suit, even as a villain,
yeah. I think it's the head. It's just. I mean, the pipes. Yeah, you're right. They're really trying to go like old school. Like, oh, it's Stark and Night Rogue all over again that you have to fight. Like the two guys you began fighting and now you're gonna end fighting. I'm like, that's a interesting take, but like, why this form? Like, it feels like this form should be Gentoku's rival, and like Utsumi should have been Gentoku's rival. And we were kind of building up to that, and then we are like, oh, maybe they'll be like grudging allies this episode. And now it's like, yeah, Utsumi snapped, and now he's just cosplaying as like fucking Nitro. I mean, like a weird powered up Nitro, but it's like what even is this? Like, why even throw back? I mean, I guess why they threw back because like just the whole beginning villains come back.
I'm
But like, it's the least necessary form. I think that's the problem. Like also like Evolve just had a second driver. Like, what the fuck was up with that? Like, didn't the whole like arc leading up to this was like, oh, I can't repair this thing, and now he just shows up with the second one? Where did he even
I
get that?
I assume that it's kind of like a prototype one that like wouldn't have
They
served him
bring
at
it
all.
from Mars?
No, because he would have had to gone back to Mars. I think that what that second one
Right.
is that it's just like a prototype one that was being made to like figure out how to fix the real one, and he couldn't use it because it would have been useless to him. And that is literally just entire speculation and theory, and I have no basis for this. Uh, I was gonna say
Um,
something else, but I forgot now. Oh, I remember now.
okay.
So I think I this is also like speculation, but I'm wondering if the lead writer had a few too many ideas for the show and had to like cherry pick ones he included.
I would. I'd believe that.
Um, Possibly, but what do you mean, right?
I mean, like you said, how they may have been setting up Utsumi to be Gentoku's rival. What if, in theory, that was an actual like idea for the show, and they just didn't have the time to fit that in, so it got cut in favor of other plot lines.
He, I know what you're saying is like, oh, we had so much plot, we had no time. But like X8 had so much plot, we had to get rid of the fucking intro, right? Like, I don't see that
Uh,
excuse with this show. Like, it sometimes feels like it,
Hey, X8's
but that's
final
cool.
arc, I have a problem with in that it feels both rushed and dragged out, and I don't like that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's badly paced, but as for like the Utami rival thing, it's like just give him a belt or something, or
Well,
make
now
it so
he
like, oh,
has a
he can't.
belt.
No, no, no. Or make it so like he could henshin and he henshin to save Gentoku and Gentoku shot him. And now like if he was Namba Industries children or if he was brainwashed, he can't henshin anymore and he's dying and like Namba's helping him and that's why he's like kinda helping him. But it's like breaking down and going crazy. And like but he always wanted to be a writer because that's why maybe he wanted to help like Sento. So like when like at the end he's just kind of gone insane because his body's falling apart and somebody finally like gives him a belt and he just snaps. And been like, it's just the like worst possible version of the thing he wanted, but he finally has it. And like at least that would have been a plot point. And like, oh, where could we put it in? I'm like, I don't know, if I could cut some of the bottles for one, or two, um, like get rid of the fucking gear bros. They're not useful. And they're like, well, they can, storyline needs them in the show or Bandai demands it. I'm like, okay, they basically have no character. Like we did not need to waste time giving them any character because like all the shit they did didn't add anything. Right? Like
They
I would rather have them be generic grunts who are just purely brainwashed.
they were good
And it would have
for
been this.
they were good for killing off the yellow crow way back when, but then they overstayed their welcome after that.
No, no, I'm saying like if you want them in the show, yeah, you could keep them, but don't waste any time focusing on them. They're just they're just like higher versions of Smash, right? They're just like random soldier dudes who are
Mm,
just there.
And I'm realizing the three crows had like 3 times as much character development as those guys. But, well, now that I think of it and the options you brought up, it does kind of make sense. But I like your idea of that Utsumi so desperately wanting to become a rider that it turns him into a monster, pretty much. Like, kind of showing that the power isn't used to protect love and peace, it can easily be corrupted and become something horrible. So I would have liked to see that. That sounds interesting.
I mean, it would have also foreshadowed this whole like mad rogue thing a little better because you could have just been like, "Oh, where is this belt from?" It's like Namba Industries was prototype building a driver because they don't have drivers, they just have the guns, right? And like it wasn't complete, and like, um, and then Evolve would have been like, "Yeah, I'll help you complete this thing," just
Or
join
try
me.
to use the rider system. It's clearly an effective weapon.
Yeah, and like the whole reason why it looks like evil is because like he would have just infused some of his power. That's why it's all white and purple, just like him. Like it would have been something.
Okay, so the last thing. Zero mentioned this a couple times already, but the highlight of this episode was Katsuragi walking around town and seeing the destruction from the war that went on as a result of his experiments, as his creating the rider system, which Gentoku had previously told him would happen, but he went through it anyways because he wanted to stop Evolt, and now he's seeing the devastation, and you can see the regret and the pain in his eyes.
That was a pretty powerful scene. It's showing like switching between Sento's face and like Katsuragi's face. Those were really well done.
And I love the idea of this rumored character that like kind of caused all this trouble, but he's not around anymore. He's back now, and not only does he get to see the results of what he did, you get to see his reaction to it.
It'll be interesting if Katsuragi gets his Sento memories back, and so like it's one full set of memories, and if that brings Sento back and how he'll act. Although that kind of my theory is that he'll need both sets of memories in order to get his final form to work.
Sento, Takumi, best match!
Oh my god. I was thinking of the double driver, but that makes way more sense.
The demon scientist, Kamen Rider Build.
Oh god, it would have been great. Wouldn't it be just
My
like
theories like Rabbit Dragon is going to be that in the movie, but I don't know.
oh, that's gonna
Spoilers.
be weird. Uh, yeah, that's interesting. I mean, like, I really liked that scene where they're like cutting between and they're like changing actors, and then you can actually see like, holy shit, Takami's actor can actually act too. So I'm like, oh, that's cool. And then that was like really well shot, man. I mean, like, again, anything that's not Nama Industries was fucking great. And then they show up and it's like, whatever, you guys, like, you're not even worth the effort
We don't have
at
to
this
worry
point.
about them anymore.
I know. I mean, like, maybe Utsumi might learn to act. I mean, who knows?
Dad.
Whatever. Like, he's not bad, but like, he just can't do crazy. And
Yeah.
now his whole character is I'm the crazy guy. You know, like
He
that's
did
sort
better
of
as like the silently seething type.
yeah. That's what I thought. Like, I thought he was gonna like see the cane and then like get up and like do the classic like rider thing of like seething hatred but not say anything and just like put on the belt and henshin.
Which probably would have been better for his character, but they went the Dan route and that wasn't the best move.
Yeah, I think like this is Toei's problem. Is like, oh, one thing works, we have to bring it back. Like, that's why like the whole like gimmicks from like Double and like O's with the collection stuff and like the XA numbers thing showed up in this, and like basically we just had like a graphite move with the Engine Bros, even though like they don't really fit in this show too well. They just allude to stuff that's happened before. It's weird. And it's like, I get it, they're trying to just like recapture the magic, but like you have to fit it in better than this, man, for it to work. Yeah.
All right. I think we're. I don't think we need to go over final thoughts. I think our thoughts are clear. So, thanks for joining us tonight, everybody. We'll be back next Tuesday with more Looping Ranger versus Pad Ranger, and next Wednesday for more Kamen Rider Build. At this point, I just want to know how many episodes this show is getting, if we know that by now. See you next time. Henshin, we can't hear you.
Hear me now?
Yes.
Bye.
Okay, now we can't.
She said bye. That's good enough.
I said
Okay.
sorry.
No, it's fine. I guess I'll just go. Which is okay, to be fair, like I was really not going to be negative when I started. I'm like, show's been pretty decent. Like, I've been overly negative, and maybe like it just happens because we do this shit like week after week, and like I have to be the guy who like drills out all the points of like, okay, this sucks because this, you know, or they could have done this, and I end up sounding negative, and then this fucking episode dropped, and I'm like, were you even fucking trying? Like, what the hell? And I'm like, maybe they were. Like, actually they were, with like, because they added all the music and all the dramatic stuff. It's just like it's a little too late, you know. Like, they tried but it didn't pay off,
Well,
right? Like, they tried for the payoff. It's just like they didn't establish these characters well enough for them to matter, which is sad. But like, hopefully the next show learns from this, which is not something I wanted to say about Build, but at this point, that's sort of what's happening. You know, like, hopefully he has a great ending, and we'll forget about this shit. You know, like, hopefully the last like 5 episodes or whatever is left are solid, and then like nobody will bitch about Namba's nonsense.
hopefully, whatever like the gimmick for the next series is, it's not so much a collectathon because you seem really tired of that.
Like, like, come on, Bandai, like, give it a rest. Like, they have Rider and Sentai and now Ultraman. Like, how much is enough?
Yeah.
You know, like, how much money do you need? Like, you also make Gunpla, which is like, what, 70 to 90% of all plastic toys in the world is just your brand? Like, how much money is enough for you? Give it a rest.
All right. Well, good night, everybody.